Welcome to the SCHEELS Outdoors podcast, your source for information on hunting, fishing, and all of your outdoor passions.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the SCHEELS Outdoors podcast. My name is Mike Anderson, here with my co-host, Ashley Sorensen. Ashley, how you doing today?
Doing great, Mike. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm going to be doing even better when I hear about some optics here. And we have Tucker Schmidt with us from Vortex Optics. How you doing today, Tucker?
Pretty good, Mike. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd only be better if you were in glassing up a big mule deer or an elk, right?
It's right around the corner, I think, right?
It is. So yeah, as we're recording this, exactly 2 days from now, I'm going to be out in the North Dakota Badlands. I'm going to be trying to glass up a big old mule deer. It's opening day there, and I'll be using some Vortex stuff out there. So I'm excited.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I run nearly all Vortex stuff, to be honest with you. Yeah, binoculars, spotting scope. I used to run a Vortex rangefinder, but I accidentally left it in the middle of the Badlands somewhere the second to last time I was out there, and I realized I left it out there when I was going to try and range an animal, and I didn't have it in my pocket. So that was.
You've got a good story about that one too.
Yeah, that was super frustrating. It was actually it was 2 years ago, and it was hunting out there in December. I think there was only like 2 weeks left of the season. I was out there with my cousin, who's one of my main hunting buddies, and I was at a point where it was like, I just want to fill a tag, Right. So it's like, I'm going to basically shoot whatever. And it was the last day of the hunt, and we glassed up this group of mule deer does that was bedded on this side hill, kind of just, it was a nice warm spot out of the wind, and it was like, okay, yep, I've hit a point where I'm ready to just fill my tag on a doe. And we got to like 60 or so yards, and I went to try and range one of the animals, and I didn't have it in my pocket. So I looked back to my cousin and was like, hey, can you range that front one for me? And he's like, yep. So he ranges it at 57. So I assumed I was probably like 4 yards ahead of him. So I dialed to 53, and then I kind of got on my knees and I released an arrow, and it flung right over its back. And I was like, man, I felt really good about that shot. And I looked back to him, and he's like, oh, I didn't see that front deer. So he ranged one behind because he was lower in elevation, and
right.
He didn't see the deer. And I was like, oh man. So I ate tag soup that year. It is what it is.
And Mike learned his lesson of how important it is to have your rangefinder.
Yes. So all of you bow hunters out there, have a rangefinder. It's an invaluable tool.
So. It really is. In archery, gun stuff, you can get away with it a little more, right? But anytime you have a bow, everything's super susceptible to incorrect ranges. In your instance, those deer were 10, 15 yards apart, maybe?
Yeah, probably about there.
Yeah, very easy to miscalculate that if you don't have one. So good piece of equipment to own. Yes,
absolutely. So, Tucker, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got hooked up with Vortex.
Right on. So I've just been a competitive person most of my life. I was in the shooting scene, just competitive shooting, target, USPSA, PRS 3-gun for quite some time. I ended up meeting Ruben over at Vortex Optics, and they ended up sponsoring me, a couple of years into it, and just kind of built that relationship with him and others there. And eventually, I think 6 or 7 years down the road, I finally had an opportunity to move to Wisconsin and kind of take the job. So I'm relatively new to hunting. When I moved up here, I knew it'd almost be like a requirement. Not out of necessity, just out of outdoor enjoyment, and it's been a really fun road. So I've had a lot of cool opportunities to go on some really good hunts and meet some people, and usually get to go on a few each year. So it's been a good ride.
Yeah, you can't be too mad about that.
Right.
So you've been enjoying hunting then, now that you're there and right in the middle of it?
It is super sweet. So we're in the heart of whitetail country here in Wisconsin. So we have, a vast amount of whitetails roaming. There's a lot of public land and a lot of farmers that want to get rid of some of the whitetails. So it's a really good place to live, and it's been a fun ride for me for sure.
Awesome.
Very nice. Very nice. So, hey, let's talk a little bit about the Vortex lineup. In particular, like, what do you got that's new for us this year?
Okay, so one of the new things that's coming out is a new smaller spotting scope. So we've had the 11 to 33 Razor for a long time. It's a great lightweight backpack style hunting optic. It has just recently been updated 13 to 39. So the optical system has been greatly improved on. The weight is fantastic. We actually just did a dealer show, or like a parking lot sale last weekend in Montana. And there was a lot of people very interested in that because it's hard to carry a 65 or 85 millimeter spotting scope on your back if you're hiking up and down through the mountains. So this kind of solves that problem, as well as gives you a very high-end piece of equipment. So that's very cool. We're really excited about that. There are a few other things. We just released the new CCW Red Dot for any of you pistol owners out there. There will be more to come on that line in the near future. So excited about that as well.
Very nice. Yeah, we actually, I met you for the first time at our SCHEELS Archery University in South Dakota, and we featured that spotting scope and shot some video on it. Was really excited about it, and then realized, dang, I can't even release any of this footage until 8:31. So it's like, just kind of sitting there in the hopper, ready to go. But yeah, I was very impressed with that spotting scope. It was like just a great crystal clear unit that can really reach out in a super small package. And I am kind of mad at myself that I'm not going to have it with on this upcoming mule deer hunt, because it would be just absolutely perfect for that.
Well, I'm sure I could probably send you one if you shoot me an email. Just let me know when you're going, and if you need one, you can always reach out. But for everyone else, keep a lookout. It'll probably be out by the time this airs, but it really is a great unit. There's a few other things coming, honestly, within the next year or two. I'm lucky enough to be on our dealer training team, part of dealer sales, so we get to test a lot of these new objects and items, whatever it may be, for a while leading up to the release. So the next year or two, keep a lookout. There's going to be a lot of really cool items for both the hunter, concealed carry, or just target shooter. There's a lot of really cool things coming.
That's awesome to hear. So I don't want to get you in trouble on this podcast, so I won't ask about any of that new stuff, but just for the viewers and listeners out there, just know that there's some cool stuff coming down the pipeline.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'd like to stay out of trouble as well.
For sure. Okay. Let's move on to binoculars. I want to give you just like kind of go. I mean, obviously you guys have a ton of offerings, all kinds of different price points, all the way from like your budget friendly people to, your best of the best. So do you just want to just kind of run through the lineup real quick on binoculars for us?
Yep. And like I said, we try to cover, the hunter's kid, right? The kid in his very first set of binoculars all the way up to the high end Western hunter. And we do have a wide variety of binoculars inside of that. So how our line usually works is the Crossfire is going to be that entry level, good, better, best kind of tier, right? So these are the good. This is just getting into a few $100s. Inside of that Crossfire lineup, there is a lot of different options and offerings based on, objective size and magnification power. Up from the Crossfire, you will get into the Diamondback level. So still, fairly entry level, a few $100s. I think the highest is probably about $400. And then we kind of get into that middle tier, which is like the Viper line. That's probably, our most common amongst the avid hunter. It's a really good price, a really good value, and the glass on those is exceptional. It really is a good binocular, and especially for the money. On top of Viper, we'll get into that Razor line. So the Razor line is definitely a higher end binocular. And each one of these will have a wide variety. So 8 power, 10 power, 12 power, 15 or 18. Typically our line falls into those magnifications. and there's a lot of different objective sizes inside of that. And then our top level will be our Razor UHD. So those are relatively new to the Vortex lineup. Those are the very high end. Obviously, it comes with a little higher price, but we like to compare those to some of the best binoculars in the market, right? And what sets that apart is called an aviconing prism. It's a little larger prism, so there's going to be a little more weight attached to those binoculars. But a lot of people that hunt in glass for miles at a time, that's really where that thing is going to come into play. So a little bigger, a little heavier, but the picture and quality is unmatched. So that's the quick version of our binocular lineup.
That was perfect. That was exactly what I was looking for. And I do have to add some of my personal experience with some of these lineups. Like like the Crossfire, you look at it on the shelf and it's like, oh, it's only a couple $100. Nice. We'll give it a shot. You pull them up and then you look through them and it's like, how are these like only $200 binoculars? Like they look like a good pair. You put them to your eyes, like bang for your buck. Those ones are solid. And yeah.
I was going to say, just to touch on that, it doesn't matter if you spend $150 or $2,000 on the binoculars. For the listeners that don't know, everything that we offer as a company, whether it's a sock or a $3,000 rifle scope, is always covered under our warranty. I'm sure you guys are familiar. But basically, if anything happens for the life of the optic, whether you buy it used from a buddy or new from a retailer, we're always going to cover that. We really believe in trying to treat the customer right after the sale, right? That's one of the things that's kind of set us apart, in my opinion. So no matter what, if you have problems, whether it's $100 or $2,000, we're going to take care of you as long as you have the optic.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we really feel you guys are a valuable partner. I mean, a lot of the same goals and ideals, and yeah, that lifetime warranty is great. You can bet your bottom dollar that I'm going to be looking at the ground when I go out there in the Badlands looking for that rangefinder, and you might be seeing a warranty claim from me. Just give you a little heads up.
That's perfect.
Yeah,
that is perfect. We will make sure you're taken care of, whatever it is you need.
Appreciate that. And yeah, my main binoculars are the Viper 10x42s, and I absolutely love them. They're everything that I could ask for in like a Western setup. I find myself, reaching for obviously I got them on my chest on a harness, and I spend a vast majority of my time looking through those. It's like I find that I can reach out and I can see everything that I really need to, and the eye relief is great on it. And if I find a good buck and he's a little farther away and I want to get a real good look at him and see if I want to chase that animal, then I'll pull out the spotting scope. But yeah, big fan of those Viper 10x42s.
So at what point
go ahead. Sorry.
No, at what point would Mike go up to the Razor series then? Different terrain?
It's really just basically a budget versus kind of the return you get, right? Is the Razor going to do the same job that he's using, but maybe a little bit better? Yes, but that doesn't mean you can't do it with that Viper. Like I said, that Viper really punches above its weight class as far as price. It really is a good value to the customer. But the Razor will, it cuts through mirage a little better low light performance. So anytime you come up in glass quality, that's what you're gaining. From the Viper to the UHD, there's definitely a gain each step of the way. But as compared to like the Crossfire to the Viper, that's a bigger jump than say the Viper to the UHD. And as you get better at anything, the advancements become a little smaller, right?
Sure.
But each time you move up, you're going to gain some of that. That's just kind of the way it is. But you can do the job easily with the Viper quality product.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So how about we move on to the spotting scopes next? So we touched a little bit about that, 13x39? Did I?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, got it. Perfect. So touched on that one. What else do you guys offer on the spotting scope line?
So in the spotting scope, the spotters are going to follow the same lineup, minus the Crossfires. We don't currently offer a Crossfire spotting scope, so it's going to start in that Diamondback level. It's going to kind of follow the same price points roughly as the binocular. So I think $300 to $500, maybe $400 is roughly where the Diamondbacks live. The Vipers obviously are going to go up from that, up into that 800-900 price point on the higher end. And then the Razor will be the high end. There is no, currently no UHD spotter scope, but the Razor spotting scopes are kind of a staple in the, Western and long range hunting community. They've been around for a while, and they're really known for that elite level glass quality out of the spotting scope.
Okay. And then, so talk to us a little bit about like your straight line spotting scopes versus like your angled ones. And are there certain situations where you'd prefer one or the other?
There really is. And I guess when you're going to purchase one, you really want to decide, how you're going to be hunting, where you're going to be hunting. I personally will almost always choose an angled spotting scope, because when you're sitting on a mountainside or wherever, it's really easy to sit with your back to the uphill side and just kind of face down as you would in a comfortable seating position, rather than canting your neck up. But if you're, say, hunting off of a car window using one of the car window spotter mounts, the straight is really where that comes into play. So some people drive either on private land or on public roads that you're allowed to drive on, and you can hang your spotter on your window. That's really where that straight comes into play. But it's 50-50, myself, like I would almost never use a straight spotter, but there's just as many on the other side saying the opposite. So it really comes down to personal preference. The good news is, in all the spotters, for the most part, they come in the straight and the angled. So yeah, it's really user preference at that point.
Okay. Good to hear. And then let's move on to the rangefinders. What do you got for us there?
Okay, so you mentioned a new item. We just recently dropped the Razor 4000 with geoballistics. So what that is, if it has a chance for you to enter all of your own data for your specific rifle or rifles, and what that does is when you range the target, it will then give you your ballistic and wind solution inside the display. So it comes with a few stock profiles. I think 3 come loaded. So like 223, 65 Creedmoor, 308, something like that. And that's usually good enough to get you out to a few hundred yards. If you want to stretch out further than, say, 400 yards, you're going to have to start tweaking those numbers to match your exact platform. The rangefinders do follow that same lineup. We try to keep it consistent if we can. They have a Crossfire 1400, a Diamondback 2000, the Viper 3000, and the Razor 4K, and then, of course, the 4K with GB. So, if you're buying Diamondbacks in one lineup, then you can kind of stick with that, keep it consistent. The price points are going to be relatively similar as far as increase.
Okay. And then, so what do the numbers represent?
The numbers is the range you can effectively range on a reflective target. So if you're going to range an animal or some other non-reflective target, a good rule of thumb is to cut that number in half. So Razor 4K on something reflective, being a steel target, a house, a silo, whatever, that would be about 2,000 non-reflective, which is usually plenty far for somebody to range a target. They're going to shoot,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then you also have a range-finding binocular too, right?
We do. So that's kind of in its own little category. There is 2 versions of that. So the Fury 5000 would be the binocular with just the rangefinder. And both of these are going to be in that Viper quality glass. And then there's the the Fury 5000 with applied ballistics. So that one actually uses applied ballistics, ballistic engine. That's basically the software that figures out your ballistic solution. A little more advanced of a product, that and the Razor GB, but both are great and effective at giving you accurate solutions for your rifle.
I feel like that's the way to go. Then you wouldn't lose.
Yeah, they would have been strapped. They would have been strapped to me and be like, Mike, if you would have just used those Furies,
that's a great point.
You'd be doing okay right now. But as a bow hunter, I feel like that's almost a little too much for me. And then I just out of being used to just having the binoculars, doing the rangefinder, because I don't know, maybe just a little less movement or something. I can feel a little more compact when I'm bringing that rangefinder up. But, for the people that do both bow and rifle, just the multi-purpose stuff, having it all in just one convenient package is incredibly nice.
Yeah, and you're right. Like 10x with a rangefinder is typically a bit much for archery guys, right? I majority archery hunt as well, so typically I have a handheld. I usually do have a pair of 1042s or something in my chest back in case I want to look a little further away, but usually it's the handheld when it comes to getting range.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, how about let's dive into the rifle scopes now.
So the rifle scopes is vast. We do have, I don't even know how many SKUs anymore as far as, magnification, objective size, ring diameter. There is a lot of options and a lot of features to choose from. But again, they're going to follow that same product lineup. Inside of that lineup, there's a few additions, which would be the Venom rifle scopes and the Strike Eagle. So both of those are kind of in the middle, right in between like Diamondback and Viper is kind of where their level kind of lands. They're more of a tactical scope. So we have hunting specific scopes, and then we also have tactical. People ask all the time, what's tactical? So we try to say, think of technical, right? That's almost a better word because it just has more features. So for someone that wants to shoot long range on targets, PRS, NRL hunter, or a plinker or ELR, whatever you're shooting, you're going to have a little more travel inside of the scope tube. You're going to have nice big knobs so you can grab and dial often, typically an illuminated reticle, just more options for that style of shooting. The other side of that would be hunting style scopes, right? They're meant to be very, very light. They all come in various magnification ranges. So they're really built to fit your needs, whatever that is as a customer. And again, it's going to be Crossfire, Diamondback, Venom, Strike Eagle. Then you get Viper, Razor, and then inside of that Razor lineup, there's usually Gen 2, Gen 3, depending on which scope you're looking at.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Is there a good starting point for someone that is getting into it?
There really is. So inside of that, like we mentioned, there's a lot of different price points. You'll kind of have to know as a hunter or mention to your salesman kind of what you're planning on doing with the scope. You may want a low power variable scope, which means typically it means it has a true 1 power. So just like you're looking with your eyeballs, up to a 4 power zoom or a 6 or a 10 and even an 8 now. That's a fairly new scope too. So a lot of times that's going to cover what most people need for hunting. Obviously if you're going out to Montana, Colorado, Wyoming, that type of thing, typically you're going to want something with a little more power. But to answer your question as a new person, a lot of it's still going to depend on budget, right? Some new people have great jobs and they just want the best. Other people, they just want a few $100 scope to where they can go out and enjoy hunting with their friends. So work with your salesperson on that, preferably at SCHEELS, right?
Absolutely. Nice little plug there, buddy.
Yeah, well, you touched on partnership with us at SCHEELS, and we've really taken a liking to you guys, and I'm sure vice versa. We work well together. Like you said, a lot of our core values really align, taking care of the customer, getting them the right product. And one thing that SCHEELS does that you don't always see sometimes, but you guys really invest in your employees, and you spend a lot of time and money training them properly. I know because our team trains SCHEELS, I can't tell you how many times a year, and they always really seem to know their products in their specialty department. So kudos to you guys for that, for sure.
Yeah, appreciate that. And then just kind of to touch on that warranty, and the partnership we have, I think it's super cool that, if somebody, buys a Vortex optic from SCHEELS and they go out on a hunting trip, and then all of a sudden, they're originally from Wisconsin and then they're out in Colorado and something happens, you can literally go to one of our Colorado stores and we'll just replace it on the spot.
Yep. I believe we do that. I think solely for you guys are the only authorized folks to do that. I'm sure other people do, but yeah, that is a very cool thing because you guys are all over the place. We're only in one spot. So it makes it easy that you guys can swap it out so they can continue their hunt.
It's like you guys have your VIP warranty and we have our SCHEELS guarantee. I was doing a little research on Vortex and then it says about you instead of about us. I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh, they're very much like SCHEELS. So can really appreciate that partnership for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here. Same for us.
Yep. So I got a hunting related question for you. So, say you're on one of these hunts being a Vortex guy, How many different optics do you bring with you on a hunt? Do you got like 17 pairs of binoculars and 8 spotting scopes, or how does that work?
I definitely feel a bit privileged when it comes to anything you need an optic for, whether it's, a competitive event or a hunt, like you mentioned. Usually I'm calling the people I'm going hunting with, like, okay, what do you have? What do you need? And I will bring extra. But typically myself, I'll always have usually a pair of 1042s on my chest. Up until now, I've always just carried the 18 power UHDs for spotting because it's a little lighter than a gigantic spotter. Everybody's a little different. It just depends on what you like. But now that we have that little spotter, I'll probably take that. And usually one extra or maybe two, either for a friend or for the truck in case something happens.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. I mean, when I first ran into you at Archery University and you pulled up in that truck and opened up your tailgate, and it was literally like nothing. You couldn't even fit anything else in the back there, just straight optics. I was like, this is one of the coolest things I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, there was we do a lot, like I said, a lot of trainings with you guys, and that was one in which you guys had a week-long training for your employees, and there were a few prizes for the performers or random giveaways, whatever it was. I think we had, I don't even know what we had. There was a lot there, and I've talked to a few of you guys since then that had actually got a few of those, and they're always, super appreciative. So it's always cool to help the guys that help us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you got any upcoming hunts you're really excited about?
I do. So I'm actually going to Alabama to shoot USPSA Nationals, not this weekend, but next. And then directly from there, I'm going to fly back, pick up my hunting stuff, and then go to Colorado for elk. We've got a few points. We've been trying to draw the units we want to draw, but it seems like getting tags is almost getting harder and harder. So we didn't get the tag we wanted. We're going to just go over the counter archery elk in Colorado. So super pumped for that.
Yeah, it's a fun hunt. I've done that twice now, and it's definitely demanding. It's difficult. There's a lot of pressure unless you really know where to go. But man, so fun.
Yeah, luckily I have my buddy Jared lives out there, and for me it's lucky because he gets to do all the recon and all the work, and then I just come and say, all right, where are we going? It's basically how it works. So I guess he gets the short end of the stick, but you said demanding. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do as a human or a hunter or whatever. Last year we went, it was 100-something miles and steep terrain, high elevation, 10 days. And I would imagine it's going to be a little harder this time because we're going somewhere else. Super steep, can't breathe. It's tough.
I was just in Breckenridge, Colorado, so as a human, not as a hunter. And
right.
Yeah, super hard to breathe. Yeah. You feel like you're in shape and you're stopping to breathe. So I can't imagine carrying all the gear.
Yeah, it's
a
little
packing out too. And
exactly. Yeah. It's a little bit different from that Wisconsin or Fargo, North Dakota air out there.
Yeah, we do have some hills where we're at in southwestern Wisconsin. It's the old driftless area. So I guess glaciers kind of molded and shaped this area however many years ago. But we have air to breathe here. That's the difference. I think we're only around 1,400 feet. And typically elk hunting, you're between 8,000 and 12,000. So, it's a substantial difference. And those first 2 days, I usually try to tell my buddy to take it easy on me because he's like a mountain goat. He'll just fly to the top. And I'm like, oh, slow down. Yeah. Usually after a day or two, you get kind of used to it. And, you do a little better. But
And then you mentioned you're going to Alabama. Is that for competitive shooting then?
Yeah, so that's action pistol shooting.
Okay.
So USPSA is the United States Practical Shooting Association. It's the biggest action shooting organization that I know of. I think it's the biggest one there is. And this will be the national championship. So they do it once a year. So we'll see how it goes. I'm getting older, but I can still beat up some of those young kids,
There you go. Did you need to qualify for that event, or is it something anyone can do?
So there is a lot of slots that are earned, right? I earned mine, I don't know, the last 7 or 10 years or so. But after all of those slots are filled, they will open it up to the public typically it's like another 40 or 50 guys out of 500 or so can sign up in open call, basically, just to try to fill the match. So.
Okay. And so what do you do to like train for something like that?
It's another place I'm pretty fortunate. So here at Vortex, we do have an indoor range facility. We have 15, 25, 50, and 100. And we do run some local USPSA matches here in the wintertime. So we have like all the walls, the targets, the pasters, all the things. So, if it's a slow day or a lunchtime or after work, I can just kind of sneak into the range and set up some practice targets or a stage and just kind of get after it.
Nice. That's a great way to do it.
It reminds me of that one show. Was it called like Shooter or what was it?
I'm not quite sure which one you're referring to.
A movie or a show?
No, it was a show. Yeah, that is a good movie though.
So Shooting USA covers a lot of the competitive shooting scenes on the Outdoor Channel. So that's the big one that covers a lot of these type of events, and they'll be there covering this one as well.
Okay, very nice. And you mentioned Shooter, the movie. That's a really good movie.
It's a good one.
Yeah. If you're listening to this and you haven't watched Shooter, like,
it's a good movie.
Put it on your Netflix queue or whatever platform carries that. It's definitely a must watch.
For sure.
All right, Tucker. Well, thank you so much for your time and kind of running through the whole gamut of what Vortex has to offer. So there's really a little something for everybody in there.
Yeah, kind of. I really appreciate you having me on, first of all. Second, the thing we try to do at Vortex is, aside from, the great customer service and the warranty, is really offer you a similar product to our competitors at a lower price. Some people see, one brand of scope and then look at our scope. Well, how come yours is cheaper? Is this one better? It's like, we really want to provide a high-end optic dependent on your price point, at an affordable price. So that's kind of one of the things we like to try to do. Again, I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a blast. Obviously, if you need anything in the future, you know where to find me.
All right, will do. And we'll make sure to link all of our Vortex lineup in the description of this podcast, along with that video we referenced going through me and Tucker talking about some of these, so you can get a firsthand look at them too. So
perfect. Yeah, if you guys have questions for us, you can always find us. Call us 1-800-4VORTEX or reach out to SCHEELS. We'll take care of you.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tucker.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the SCHEELS Outdoors podcast. Stay tuned for future segments and visit our social media pages, SCHEELS Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram, for daily updates.